This is a story of a little airport that grew. In 1928, there was only 100 acres of land deemed to be for the Vero Beach Airport. And we needed an airport manager, and Mr. Holman, Bud Holman, was the one that was chosen, and he went right to work.
The airport here, as far as I'm concerned, this was just a wide open land, really undeveloped. The thing that really broke it loose was when my dad got a fuel tank from up in Daytona from a guy he knew up there, and brought the fuel tank down here. So Eastern Airlines, which was Eastern Transport then, flying mail up and down the East Coast, being to Jacksonville, Miami. And when he got the fuel tank and brought it down here, that meant the airline had to stop here in Vero, and because there wasn't any place else, because he had the fuel. So that put Vero on the map with Jacksonville, Vero, Miami.
In 1932, Eastern started passenger service, and we were the smallest little airport in the state that had the Eastern Silver Fleet. In 1935, the Army Air Corps, General Hap Arnolds, decided they would actually have war games in Vero Beach. This 100 acres now had over 200 planes playing war games.
The Army wanted to make a show of how strong they were, so my dad said, well, why don't you leave from Vero Beach? And I said, oh, we have to have paved runways. And my dad said, yeah, I know it. Why don't you pave our runways for us? When the war was starting and we had a paved runway, you know, it brought a lot of activity here. Well, all of a sudden the Navy blew into town overnight, and they had the place, and just this blink of an eye, the Navy took over. So that's how we became a naval air station.
In 1941, after Pearl Harbor, our community was only about 8,900 people, and now we had a full-fledged facility. They brought in the young men to do night training to send them off to war.
World War II did a lot of changing of our world, as well as Vero Beach, and certainly this little airport. My husband-to-be was training here for 3 months during the war before we even met. But there were like about 10 barracks for the men, because it was at least 1,000 men that were here, and one wooden barrack for the women, Waves. But it was a big part of his life, so we were delighted to have been part of Vero's beginning through the rest of his life. It had a lot of meaning to him.
After the war, the Navy handed over all the buildings and this improved airfield to the city of Vero Beach. The Navy had built a huge terminal, 3 stories high, framed during the war years, and now we needed a new terminal which was considered very modern.
When the city of Vero Beach was deeded the property from the federal government after World War II, the city of Vero Beach was interested in seeking some businesses that would come and operate and take some of the land that that the Navy left us in order to create a revenue stream to maintain the actual airfield.
My dad had all these buildings and all this property and everything, and what to do with it. And my mother came up with the idea, said, well, why don't you think about bringing a baseball club in here? Well, my dad didn't hardly know first base from second base, but he said, well, who has the biggest organization? Well, they said, well, the Dodgers do. So my dad said, well, give me an appointment with them in Brooklyn. So he talked the Dodgers into coming here just practically overnight.
City of Vero Beach entered a new era in the airport development when the Dodgers came to town.
They had such a tremendous big organization, you know, they had 500 or 600 people, and it really brought the town to life.
Well, after the Dodgers business arrangement came Piper. Piper actually came onto the airport in 1957, and they were also able to purchase some of the airport property, and they've been here at Vero Beach since 1957. And following that came a third large business entity, which was Flight Safety International. And Flight Safety started business here in 1966. With all the activity that came with the business development at the airport in the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s, we needed to have an air traffic control tower. And actually the first air traffic control tower at Vero Beach Airport was built in 1973 and was in operations for 30 years. And then in 2003, of course, we built with the Federal Aviation funding the air traffic control tower that is currently at Vero Beach Airport. And it wasn't until 2015 that commercial airline service returned to Vero Beach Airport with the arrival of Elite Airways.
This little airport that grew and grew and grew, and today we have a very modern facility with a brand new airline.
My family home was only about 3-4 blocks down the street here, so I kind of grew up out here. And I think back of what was here before and what's here now, it seems impossible.
As airport director, it's really been an incredible journey for me and my staff to see the Vero Beach Regional Airport be as successful as it is, and it's going to be really exciting to see what the 21st century will hold for Vero Beach Regional Airport.
As a historian, often you don't find a story that begins like this one. I see a very exciting future for this little airport that has grown and grown.